Producer Mike, what do you think the hardest thing in sports is, as someone who's kind of worked in the space but can't hit a drive 240?
That's not true. I've been working on it. Unless the in-town TrackMan's lying to me.
It's lying to you.
It's lying to you. Damn it. Repeat championships and honestly, the slams, any type of slam seems to be, Grand Slam seems to be the hardest.
John?
So the specifics, right? Beat Rafa on clay and outrun Usain Bolt and take a round off of Khabib. I think it's got, whatever the answer is, and I want to hear what you say, because I feel like this is a leading question. It's got to be in an individual sport. That is my one condition. Take it away, the one professional athlete on this panel.
We don't even have one anymore. Here's what I think. I think after I spent 7 hours watching the Masters coverage, I'm not sure they could have scripted more drama. I think there was more drama than there was in the White Lotus finale. But
hey, either.
I think watching Rory McIlroy, who is already one of the best golfers of all time, even before, if he didn't win the Masters yesterday, and he's a sometimes served listener. So if you are listening, Rory, man, congratulations. It was so fantastic. I was glued to my seat the entire time, pulling for you, pulling for emotion. And guys, I think expectation is the hardest thing in sports. And at what point do other people's expectations of you take the place of your realistic expectations for yourself? And what I mean by that is, so when Rory McIlroy is this kid phenom at 10, 11, 12 years old, which, some of, like, Venus and Serena were phenoms when they were kids, right? They were just, you felt like they were going to win a bunch of stuff. Now, is that a Grand Slam? Is it 4? Is it 20-something? You don't know. Venus won 5 Wimbledons and is the second best player in her family, that type of thing. You don't know what the levels are. But if you would have told Rory, even at 12, even as a phenom, hey, listen, I'll give you 4 slams right now, all of the other things, number 1 in the world, the natural response is everyone, him, his parents, anyone around him, would go, I'll take that and we'll be happy forever. No, like, close the book. I can code the best forever. That doesn't happen. You constantly reset. Imagine someone who's been one of the best golfers of all time since he was 24, and then having all of a sudden appeared mortal to us. And not because he's not mortal, because he can drive the ball, he can carry the ball 370. Like, not mortal, but just mortal in the fact that we've watched him be human, have to fight his own mental nerves. One of the best ever. Fight his own mental nerves to the point where people are getting emotional because he finally comes through and fights it also in real time. He just fought it a little better yesterday and was able to offset some of the mistakes with resetting, which has been learned over time. Expectation has to be the hardest thing ever. At what point does he go from, listen, you give me that thing at 10 years old, I just want to win one. I just want to even be in one. I want to play in one. To at 4, it's disappointing if you don't win the Masters. That's a crazy thing to me. That's like, it affects it affects his body. Like, he misses a chip 40 yards right on 13. That's a body thing. And then, people remember that, but how about the superhero effort to not let it get away at that point? Like, it's amazing. And it's weird. I want to connect this because in tennis, this was the week of Carlos Alcaraz in Monte Carlo. But it's kind of, guy's 21 years old, he already has 4 slams. Like, he's won it on, he's one away. He's going to, for the next however many years until he wins Australia, he's going to be one away from the career slam. He's already there. And as I'm watching Rory, it hasn't gotten to the point with Carlos where he hasn't built up this, decade and a half long to where, Rory was standing on the 10th tee in 2011 with a 5-stroke lead, and he hasn't built up that subset. But we're already kind of getting there with Carlos, where before Monte Carlo, we're going, well, what's wrong with Carlos? And then he wins Monte Carlo, and he's now number 1 in the race for the season. But I think expectation is the hardest thing, John.
Can I give you a corollary that gets us right back to the same place? Expectation is a big picture issue. What about, and this is not unrelated, and I think it applies both to Rory yesterday and to Carlos in the past, not least the Wimbledon final. Hardest thing to do in sports, isn't one of them have to be to get the train back on the tracks after you've had a derailment? So you have a lead, and then suddenly you get a little yippee and the lead disappears. Or you take the first 2 sets against Novak, and then Novak starts to claw his way back into the match. I think sometimes we say, oh, he won in 5 sets. And to me, there's a huge difference between winning the first 2 sets, losing the next 2, and then winning the 5th. Roger Rafa, 2008 Wimbledon final. That's a lot different than sort of alternating. He wins a set, I win a set, he wins a set, I win a set. What Carlos Alcaraz has had to do in a few of those majors, where he really had to come by, even the Roland Garros last year, when he was 1 set away from losing to Zverev, that would have been a really stinging loss. What Rory did yesterday, big picture expectations and 10 years, and sort of he knows. I mean, these athletes, they may not read every single tweet, and they may have ways to sort of isolate themselves, but they generally know the narratives of their career. They know if they're meeting expectations or not. But I think tied to that, losing a lead and then figuring out a way to just say, I'm not going to leave this putting green, this green or this tennis court, the champion, even if I've got to, crawl on glass to get back after I've squandered this lead. I'd put that up there too as the hardest things in sports.
Yeah, and also I hear stuff like that a lot, and it's like, I'm not leaving here. Like, no, you say, like, I am going to try my ass off. I'm going to try to be in the right positions. I am going to try to. It's constantly resetting. You're basically doing the next 90 seconds of your life over and over and over, and you come up 1 stroke short, or it changes your entire narrative of your entire career based on 30 seconds, based on missing a 6-footer versus in the playoffs sticking it to 2 feet and making it. Rose drains a 17-footer, and it's just it's these little miniature moments that affect such a big thing. But listen, without the expectation and without everyone being invested, I don't think we see that reaction where he is laying on the green yesterday and his body is convulsing and heaving out of relief. That comes with expectations from when you're 10 and they're probably fun, to 24 and all of a sudden people are going, is he in pace with Tiger? And then that gets away from you, and then it's just this one tournament to complete the career slam, to go enter immortality, and it's something you've done a million times. Play 4 rounds of good golf. Can you get there? But sports is just the best reality show that there has ever been. You do not get these people who are absolute superheroes mixed with a sense of mortality that every single person who's ever been nervous about anything can relate to. And that's when you get the magic of the response that we saw with Rory yesterday. And my mind kept going to Carlos. It's like, at what point are we just morons? Because we're discussing him on TC Live all week, and it's like, well, Carlos just has to get to the point where he can steady the ship, and like these players. And I'm going, well, those players they're like all like 27. He's 21. He's just good enough to have had success. He's so obnoxiously talented and gifted and a hard worker, and he's won 4 without having to figure everything out. That's how good he is. Might be the same for Rory. It's like they're so aesthetically pleasing with the way that they play that we forget that they have to work at it, and that it isn't just always easy. And that, I mean, you saw what it meant to Rory at the end. It was like, I was emotional. It was amazing. And you wanted to see that moment. And it reminded me also back a little bit to, what interview am I going to mention right now? Madison Keys from Australia. We're talking about overcoming a decade of almost, and how it affected her and the people around her. I think expectation is the hardest thing in sports.
You know what? I'm here in France right now, and a lot of talk. Wembanyama is going to revolutionize basketball. Is going to be the #1 pick. You've never seen a player with his skills at his height. And you know what? He goes to San Antonio, and they're kind of in rebuild mode, and we all like Pop, but he's getting on in years. that is a much different pressure than an individual sport. And I feel like we don't make this distinction often enough when it is just you, it's up to you stepping up to the box. It's just you on the tennis court. That is a referendum on you. You can't say, oh, the offense wasn't suited to my skills and the coach and the play calling stunk and my receiver dropped my passes or I would have had better stats. Whether it's Madison Keys, whether it's Rory McIlroy, whether it's, the UFC, whether it's Volkanovski fighting, trying to sort of revive his career in the UFC Saturday night. I just think we talk about sports being great theater and reality TV and this sort of microcosm for life. I love team sports, but it's just different when it's one person and it's just a referendum on them and there's no one else getting the blame and there's no one else getting the glory. And I think what we saw yesterday was really raw. We got two Masters champions, and I think that's an interesting point. A lot of overlap. I keep thinking when I heard the same chatter you did, right? It's David Goffin. What's going on with Carlos, and is he having this slump? And you're thinking, dude, May 5th, he turns 22 years old. Everybody needs to relax here.
Yeah, but it's not crazy to think that someone who has won, but also like just to play devil's advocate and to counter myself, someone's won 4 slams. We've seen him beat Novak Djokovic in dominating fashion in a Grand Slam final. What was this?
He's 10-1.
10-1.
Grand Slams and Masters 1000 finals, only losing to Novak in Cincinnati in 2023.
And it's absurd to me because we kind of judge these people against their own shadows, which is totally fair. Like if we've seen the best version of you, then that's what the comparison is. But then we forget about Carlos and the 10-1 in Slam and Masters Series final. We forget about Naomi Osaka when she's made it past the round of 16 of Slam, she's won. We forget about Iga Swiatek as 5-0 in Grand Slam finals. We talk about how maybe she gets a little nervous, and I'm like, well, shit. Like she gets nervous enough to never lose a Grand Slam final when she gets there. People operate differently, right? The Jack Nicklaus thing where he has won 18 majors and got second 19 times. It's not always perfect. It's not as easy as like, this guy's going to win. And we all have a beer and we go through fantasy drafts and we pretend like we know everything. It's a jumble of nerves to the point where the best in the world who have mastered the craft of controlling their own bodies, all of a sudden hit a chip 30 yards right to the only place where you can't hit it, to reset.
Yeah.
And start from scratch.
I mean, if you think about it, Rory it was 11 years since he won even just any type of slam, right?
Valhalla in 2014.
2014 PGA Championship. Andy did the Open Championship same year, right?
2 weeks before.
It's been 11 years, and we still consider him one of the greatest of all times, right? And he has a measly 5 championships now.
Jeez.
I mean,
at a pretty young age.
At a really young age, right? And like, odds are like that might happen to Carlos, right? He's got 3. Like we might have to wait
4.
that long to get. I'm sorry, he's got 4, but he's got 3 of what he needs to complete a slam. Like Grand Slam, how long? We might wait 11 years for that. It's a possibility because we're spoiled.
But also like Carlos is the first one to the microphone to criticize himself. Right? Like he loses in the semis of Indian Wells to Draper. And he goes in and said, I just was nervous. I was unprepared. There was a little bit of panic that set in. There was all of these things. And we go, how could that be? It's not just because you've done it once, just because you've done it twice. We kind of like to say, oh, they can handle it now. It's a living thing. It isn't just like a set guarantee because you've done something, And then we also, the flip side is like, oh, Rory finally won. No. Nope. Not a foregone conclusion. You got to give, like, he had to literally, I can't even imagine what he felt yesterday when he finally closed his eyes. He wasn't playing golf. It was I never once in my entire career cramped in practice. Not a single time. And sure as shit, you throw those nerves in there and 3 hours in and your body is going, oh, I'm cramping. It literally takes over your entire body. We're on a text chain with producer Mike and a couple of our dumb buddies. And they're like, how could he do that? I'm like, you've done it at your club championship when you're 7 back from the lead after 9 holes. What are you talking about?
You've done a parallel parking. I mean, these are the same neurochemistry that most people go through when they're like, forgot, oh, my wife wanted soy milk and I got regular 2%. I mean, we choke in our daily life, just no one knows about it and the stakes are lower.
I choked at Dingles this morning.
Yeah, Dingles. Man.
Yeah.
When you love to just have some sort of some transcript or just, I mean, the conversations he must have been having with himself for those last 3 hours, right? From I'm in pole position to holy shit, this thing's slipping away to I'm going to take this thing in a playoff to the absolute just exultation when he won. When you love to just have the sort of unadulterated transcript of what someone like that goes through in a moment like that.
Yeah, I know it. It's yeah. I mean, and I was so happy for him because I didn't ultimately get there at Wimbledon, but like I feel like I had some of the same painful processes right over time, and I'm not as decorated as he is, and it wasn't such a glaring hole. It's just something that I wanted. But like I was so happy to see him fight through all of that stuff and to finally get there. And who knows how it goes now? Like maybe that's the driver that keeps him. Like he never. And by the way, credit to him because he never went away. It wasn't as if it's been 11 years and he just couldn't take it. He literally has been there every day in the top 2, 3, 4, maybe went crazy and dropped to 6 for like a cup of coffee, but he's never gone away. And so I'm so curious to see, is it like a breath or does he need that like angst to win the Players last month? Are you winning the Players because you want to execute at Augusta? Like I'm so curious as like the human mind and the psyche, or is it like, okay, I did it. Now let's let it rip. I don't have this, this 1,000-pound gorilla on my back. And so, but like, we don't know the answers, right? I think it's just so fascinating how people digest expectation. And then when it's done, we saw it with Novak in 2017 when he won the French to complete the career slam. He didn't he had an elbow injury, but he lost to Sam Querrey. And it was like, he's admitted to like, I was so mentally exhausted. I don't think I realized how much it was going to deplete me once it was done.